The day I passed my HGV practical driving test is still significant to me up to today. Questions I'm answering from an email from a subscriber. How many times did you attempt? What school did you pass with? How much did you spend in total? And how many permanent jobs have you had? How many jobs have you had? How many in total, and then favorite job and why, and then what. Stay tuned. I'm going to be going through those answers for my viewers. My name is Simon. I'm a British truck driver from Africa. Always telling my stories, where I come from, what I'm going through, London life. I do try a lot of jokes, comedy, career guidance for truckers, basically London life. I like to think I am showing Africans the UK, and I'm also showing the UK people. I'm trying to show them Africa. If that sounds interesting, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the bell to get notified. Leave a like if you like this video, if you end up liking this video. Right. The day I passed my HGV practical driving test, the first time I went for a driving lesson, a practical, we are only talking about practical. Theory, you've got to go through it yourself. It's hard to advise around that because it's just computers and reading and going and answering it. I think nowadays it's online, so you can do it at home. I'm not sure actually. You need to go through that. It's the theory. All I'm talking about is the practical. That's the day that they tell you you're now a trucker, or you need to come back, or you've failed and go and attempt again. That's the day that I'm speaking about. Okay, the first school that I ever went to do my driving lessons for the trucks was a school called First Class Trucking. First Class Trucking from the was a cheap school because it this school was advertising on their truck. You can drive this truck for £750. You can learn to drive this truck for £750. That was the biggest. That was the big advert that caught me. While I was getting on with my usual life, I saw this advert. You can learn to drive this truck for £750. Wow! When I called everywhere else, everyone was talking about 1,000, 1,200. That was the asking price for for you to start, for your first trial. So First Class Trucking said 750, and they had it written on their trucks. That's the first school I went with. Everything around my practical driving has been around Enfield. Enfield for a North Londoner is sort of the nearest. Away from Enfield, there's where is it? Is it Guildford? There's Guildford, somewhere else a bit far away, not near. Enfield was the one that was always working for me, because I lived them days in northwest London. I still lived in northwest London, but Enfield not that far. It's not that far from North London. Okay, First Class Trucking. I went there. I failed the first time I went with First Class Trucking. First of all, let me tell you how it went on the first day that I went to train. The first day I actually sat in a truck, tried to drive it. Was the guy from First Class Trucking. This was a Cockney guy. I meet this guy in the morning. It was a morning lesson, and then he's in a big hangover. What does he do? Oh, we're going to go to the cafe. On my time, we're going to go to the cafe. Do you know how you feel? You've raised all that money. I remember them days, £200 got you 4 hours. £200 got you 4 hours. So imagine you raise all that money. It was a lot of money to give for a 4-hour lesson. You raise that money, and someone turns up in their real big hangover, and they're telling you, let's go to the cafe over there. Within your time, he bought me tea. But I wasn't happy for having to sit down. I've come for a lesson and I'm roaring to go, and now you're making me sit in a cafe. And I think he did not add on that time. So if we started maybe at 8, by midday he was still asking to finish, and yet we had been into the cafe. wasting time on my hard-earned lessons, hard-earned money. Anyway, that guy, he didn't teach me. I remember the good things, what I learned from that first teacher of first class trucking. I went fast I attempted the first time, I didn't make it. But for me, I thought I'd made it. I felt like I'd been malice. There's something really slight that they told me that failed me. But generally, I think beginner's luck was on my side. I drove well on the first attempt. Really, really drove well. But it was, they gave me, I failed the first time. This guy, what I remember, the main things that this guy taught me, I'm keeping always, the guy taught me one thing. Maybe he taught me the language. He said to me one thing. If you need to pass this trucking test, you need to learn the party tricks. I'm like, what are the party tricks? So then he keeps on explaining. You see, truck driving is all about, in the test, you need to just be able to do all the things, the party tricks. With trucks, sometimes you're turning this way, but you're looking that way. Yeah? All right? Basically, he explained to me there's a lot of party tricks within the truck driving. If you don't learn them, you're not going to pass. What else did I learn from the first guy? He also told me, stop driving in that way, because you're driving like a road sweeper. With trucks, you don't want to move in and move out all the time. If there's a parked car there, when you come out to pass that parked car, if there's another gap and there's another parked car, sometimes you just want to keep outside till you pass the second car. With me, I'd come out, I'd go back in, come out, go back in. He told me that is not the right way, because you're going like a road sweeper. You know the road sweeping trucks, that's what they do. They do that zigzag. So he said, don't do that. Another thing was the shoes. He told me off what shoes I came driving. The first day I turned up, I was I was wearing safety boots. As I say, I was coming from a night shift on the security guards. So he told me, no, them shoes, you don't want that. You get your nice trainers, comfy shoes for the next lesson. Then you can be comfortable and drive and do the party tricks that we need you to do. Anyway, I went back. I first paid that $750 and I flunked the first one. The second one, I think it was a bit cheaper. They told me you can now pay $600 because you know a bit. So we'll just do 1 or 2 days, just like go in quicker. I got the 600, I paid it. Now that was what, let's say 800 plus 600. I was already on 1400, which was loads of money. Saving 1400 in those days, doing all those other jobs was so difficult, and it took time. Right, I failed with first class trucking 2 times. Once I did that, I thought this is time to move on. Okay, I went to the local school, Wallace. I always have a lot of praise for Wallace. Wallace them days had the brand new trucks of that year. Not any other school had that kind of service. They had the brand new truck, Mercedes. So there wasn't nothing like the truck, the machine is not working. The machine is working because it's brand new. All you had to do was learn this brand new machine. All in all, Wallace had the best pass rate them years. They were well more expensive. The one $750 to start, I think they were like $1,200 to start. They were more expensive, but I was going to go for this more expensive because I'd seen that sometimes cheap things aren't the best sometimes. Sometimes, yes, you can get on and get in quicker, but in this case, cheap things weren't going to help me. So now I thought, whatever the price, I'm going to go for another school. So I went to Wallace in Wembley, but they still brought me to Enfield. We still trained around Enfield. So in North London, it's an Enfield game. You need to know the Enfield roads. That's where they're going to take you. That's the active place. Enfield industrial area roads, you're going to know them. Getting this chance to say a shout out to James at Wallace. James is still at Wallace. 2 weeks ago, I went back to Wallace to get a refresher for my CPC Transport Manager course, which I did very nicely. Within 1 day, they had pinched 360 pounds off of me within 1 day. But now I have a refresher for 5 years. So shout out to you, James Tego, man from Ghana. I failed once with James. and then the next time I made it. So that answers the question here that says, how many times did you attempt? I attempted thrice and I passed the 4th time. Something that seems so loads, but you go ask people who are honest, they are going to tell you almost the same thing. 3rd time, 2nd time, 4th time, 5th time. As I say, I met some guy who had failed. The day I passed, I met someone and he had come back there for the 9th time. I don't know whether he passed that time, but that is how serious this thing can be. It's a serious course, but the day you pass, then you're in and it's forever. All right, what school did you pass with? It was Wallace. And how much did you spend in total? In total, I spent 3,000 pounds. 3,000 pounds roughly. It can take you a year, 2 years, 3 years chasing one thing, but once you get it, everything is right up. All your money is doubling. So that answers that part. How much did you spend? 3,000 for the first level, and then for the class 2, for the class 1. For the class 1, I'm going to tell you that because I didn't take long, as soon as I passed my truck driving, I got in with the next month, and I started to drive straight away. Them days, everywhere they were looking for a truck driver. They don't even want your card; they just want the pass. Then you would get the pass, and they'll give you a truck, and you're going. That was my times. So within around 6 months, I was now already driving trucks, and I thought, why am I going to wait? I went for the class 1. I did not wait. Within a few 4 months, I was back with Wallace and asking them to get my class 1. And then within 8 months, I was now class 1. The extra money that I spent to get to class 1 from class 2 was 2,000, which means that I did not pass first time as well. I did not pass first time as well. So I needed another. I failed once again, class 1 attempt, and then I passed the second time. It is a course that needs a lot of, you fail, they tell you what's wrong, you go and change. They will rarely let you to pass in the first time. Sometimes even if you have it all, it's just their job to keep you in, to make sure. I think also was a bit of money making. Because by the time I passed, I'm going to tell you guys, by the time I passed, I had so much experience with the gentleman at Enfield HGV test center. By the time I passed, I knew who's who. That's Gary, that's Scott, that is his car. This one drives a Porsche, the other one drives a Boxster, this one drives X5. By the time I got that pass, I knew all the guys in there. I knew them and their names. One guy, the day that I became a truck driver, I'll tell you how I passed, exactly how I passed that day. That day, I get into with the examiner. Now, this examiner, I had been driving for a while now, so I wasn't panicking, and I know the thing. I'm now a bit confident. Remember, I failed thrice. Okay? So this examiner speaks with me. Now, he's a bit relaxed. Remember, if you watch my videos on tips of how to pass, I've told you it's good not to keep quiet. Do your driving, but relax enough to have a conversation. So on that day, I was sparking. I'm having my conversation. I'm not making mistakes. Mr. Man starts asking me, so, how long have you done this? Have you attempted this before? Guess what? I told him, hey, I've been here in this same test center and you have failed me before. You, mister, have failed me before. Huh? The guy changed his tone. The person who's on the other side, they will not forget. The one on this one who is failing you, he will forget your face. You who's paid that money and dreaming, you're not going to forget. So I told the guy, you failed me before. What? Anyway, he passed me this time. But I think that was also part of what helped me to pass. Because I remembered him and I told him, me and you have been in this before. No wonder I'm driving better. So now he let me to pass. That's the guy who I knew his car, I knew whoever. There were only maybe like 5 examiners. But believe you me, you knew what you're getting into. There was money. They all drove very expensive cars. Enfield Test Center, up to now, there must be loaded people going there to examine. How much I spent, now I've told you. So I spent £5,000 to get to be class 1. How many permanent jobs have you had? I'm a temporary guy. If you watch my channel for a bit, you can tell I'm temporary. I like to be a business person, to skip about, to work when I want, and so on and so forth, and to dream that I'm going to expand as a trucker or transporter. I've had, out of the total number of jobs I've done in this country, maybe let us say about 25 different jobs. 25 different jobs in over 10 years as a trucker. In amongst all those jobs, guess what? I've only been permanent once. I've only been permanent once, and that was with the DHL in Enfield, where we worked at Iceland Depot. I did that for 2 years. It got too much for me. One day I just left. I had the wrong start time. I started in the middle of the night, 3:30. I couldn't handle it. My favorite job and why? My favorite job is the one that I'm doing currently, because I've stayed there. Why? It's because I've stayed there 4 years. Because I've stayed there for 4 years. Before this, I have been skipping at 2 years. However, I liked the job. When it was 2 years, I just moved. I trained on and I went and tried something else. But this current one, personal evidence is I like it, so I've stayed here for 4 years. Another thing, what else is nice about it? I found the right people there. I found people friendly in the center. I found people looking like me, some of them. I've never felt really, sidelined like I felt when I was in DHL in Iceland those years. I felt so sidelined. It was one kind of job where every day you walk in, even after 2 years, you feel like this is your day one at the job, if you know what I mean. Right, I'm not going to go on and on. I think my time is done. I need to go and catch this delivery and be on time. Okay, for class 1, when I passed class 1, there's one thing I wanted to share. When I passed class 1, that was the biggest thing. Class 2 was big, but class 1 was such a big mark. When you're allowed to drive trailers, I don't know what it is. It's just the whole oomph of it, the big vehicle and authority and so on. And respect on the roads, isn't it? So when I passed class 1, I actually threw a house party. I withdrew most of the money I had in my account and I called all my friends to my house and we had a party. Okay, that was something. It was a big thing. Another thing I did, I remember I texted my dad. I texted my dad and told him, Dad, the hard part is finished. I've never forgotten that text. The hard part is finished, Dad. Yeah? You know what I'm saying? It was such a big point in my life. I knew that now the hard part, job-wise, is done. Okay? Going to love you and leave you. Stay safe. God bless and love.